You know the passage in the Bible where Jesus is walking on water, and then Peter says, Jesus, if that's you, call me out onto the water. And then he goes on to walk on the water himself. But as soon as his eyes turn away from Jesus, he starts to sink. Well, that story came to mind today for me as I was reflecting on what we're going to talk about right now. Because I think there's just so much beauty that comes from fixing our eyes on Jesus. I think when our eyes are fixed on Jesus, there's this beautiful, we get to experience his power when we trust him and look at him and imagine that he can do the impossible. God can do so much through us. And I don't know, it's just this beautiful experience. But what I really want to focus on is it's just that idea that when our eyes aren't fixed on Jesus, like Peter, we start to sink a little. And I know that has been true for me in my life, because I think one of the leading contributors for my experiences of burnout, the times in my life I've been most exhausted, most confused, the times in my life where I've struggled the most have been times where my eyes haven't been focused on Jesus. And so, and one of the biggest reasons, not one of the biggest reasons, I take that back. One of the things I can do instead of fix my eyes on Jesus is fix my eyes on people. And I think when I do that, a lot of things just end badly. As people, it's really, really hard, isn't it, to not care too much about what people think. But it's so important for us to prioritize what Jesus thinks of us above what people may or may not think, and to fix our eyes on him. Because if we live in a way where our eyes are fixed on Jesus, we're able to have, I think, full, balanced, restful lives that hold a lot less worry, hold a lot less stress, a lot less anxiety. But I think when our eyes are fixed on people and not on Jesus, we can fill our lives with doubt, with anxiety, with worry, with a restlessness. And for me, I know, like, when I burnt out, it was like I would struggle to say no to things. And there's other reasons for that too. I just like doing stuff. But it was like I would worry what would happen if I said no. I would worry what would happen if I put boundaries in place. I would worry what would happen if, I don't know, someone felt like not very loved by me, or like I wasn't reliable, or all these other things. But for me, I know that the times where I am so focused on people's opinions, which, by the way, it's more perceived opinions. We don't really know what's going on for people, and often we can fill our heads with things people may or may not be thinking. It's just not helpful. And I know, like, in the first sermon I ever did at church, it was on an audience of living for an audience of one. And I love that phrase, because when I'm living in a way where I just want to please and honor God, life is more simple. It really is. I'm able to live in a way that says God is God, and trust him, and not overdo things in my life or over worry. But when I live in a way where I'm not living for an audience of one, and I'm just caring too much about what people think, I fill my life with a lot of things that I don't need to fill my life with. And so I just want to encourage you, like, and ask you this question. Right now in your life, are your eyes focused firmly on Jesus, or are your eyes just kind of wandering around looking at people, worrying what they think, hoping for their approval? And I think on an added note, like, as people, there is this real natural longing to belong, a real natural longing to feel validated, to matter. And that's not a wrong thing, but I'm just talking about how, like, when people affirm us, that's beautiful and it's wonderful. And I hope that we can all be people who often encourage each other with our words and actions, because we do need each other's love in that way and encouragement in that way. But I think when we look to people for the things we should ultimately be looking to God for, that's when things can get a bit messy, and When we feel like we don't have people's approval, life gets really hard. When we feel like people have, I don't know, like unfair or bad opinions of us, life can get really hard. But if we're able to just focus our eyes on Jesus, I think we can get a lot better at living lives that are restful, that are trusting, and just full of joy in a way that we can't have when we obsess about what people think too much. And the thing about this, I don't think it's just, we often talk about how like teenagers care a lot about what their peers think, and that's true. But we don't fully outgrow that. I think this message, that idea of being careful not to obsess over what people think, I think it's a lifelong lesson, whatever season of life we're in. And I know for myself, it's not this one decision I make to focus my eyes on Jesus and not worry about other people too much, but it's an ongoing thing. It's this daily reminder to fix my eyes upon Jesus and not over fix my eyes on other people. So I want to encourage you, what does it look like to live for an audience of one? Where are your eyes fixed right now? And if it's not on Jesus, what does it look like to shift your focus on Jesus?